All right, welcome back to the Death by Tyranny podcast. Well, I thought I would make an extra podcast for you guys. I was supposed to work tonight at my regular job, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But I thought, maybe it would be nice for the people who did get stuck working tonight, for me to give them something maybe they could listen into. A couple of things maybe to think about, maybe research theirself, because there are some things going on that just doesn't make it into even a lot of some of the conservative outlet news. Unfortunately, my wife right now did have a test come back positive for the coronavirus. Well, I'm not allowed to go to work because we work at the same place, because she tested positive for the coronavirus, and unfortunately it is a Saturday, so I probably won't be able to get tested until Monday. So I'm looking to lose somewhere in between 24 and 30 hours of pay, and even then I don't know. She's not vaccinated. I'm not vaccinated, so I don't know if I will have to wait out the 10 days or however long they're going to make us do that. And before this, I was trying to do some research into ILM, which is the partner program, I believe, with my work that allows for some of that compensation for you missing work. And there's not a whole lot of information on their website. In fact, really the only thing they're putting on there is whether or not you want to work for them. And quite frankly, it doesn't look like they set the bar too high. And I know that from previous experience, last year we had to deal with them for just a couple of days, and it was just a nightmare. They messed up my insurance. It was just a total disaster. But of course, now that we're almost 2 years into the pandemic, they have kind of lowered the bar of help that you can receive for when you run into situations like this. But they want to reintroduce some of the mandates like masks and, pushing the vaccine upon us. But when it comes to stuff like hazard pay, they say that the infection rate is up and that the Delta variant is more transmissible. And those of us who have worked through the coronavirus, we did receive some of that hazard pay for a short period of time, and then everybody thought it was getting better, and so it went away. And now, of course, they're scaling it back up, but of course we're not being compensated for that. And where I'm stuck at right now is I don't believe I have the coronavirus. Every time I've been tested, I've tested negative, but my wife has. Now, of course, I'm not financially able to go get a hotel for me and my 3 children to separate from my wife. Not to mention, I have to be here to take care of her. So I am going to come in contact with her through the whole entire process. Well, the last I checked, when I failed a screening, when you go into work and they take your temperature and ask you if you have any symptoms, I had a little bit of a temperature, so I was sent home. Well, then I tested negative, and I wasn't compensated for that. So now that my wife is positive for the coronavirus, if I go to call ILM Monday, are they going to say, yes, we'll compensate your wife for the days that she misses? But since you have to go get tested, if you test negative, we're not going to compensate you. So where does that leave my children? Are my children forced to be around my wife that has coronavirus and may catch it, while she's interacting with them? And then my babysitter, I am blessed enough to have my babysitter be my mother, but she is older. She has asthma. So she is on, one of the, she's more at risk. So I am supposed to put my mom's life in jeopardy if the coronavirus is this deadly and this transmissible, which I'm not even sure if I believe all that, since I have slept in the same bed with my wife since, and I seem perfectly fine. Maybe I'm just asymptomatic. So I'm kind of stuck in a rock and a hard place, because I don't believe that they're going to compensate me for the time lost. I still don't know how much time lost that's going to be. And I know even getting my wife compensated for her time lost is going to be a huge time waste and pain in the ass. Now, the people they have working for ILM, I don't know if you've had the luxury of speaking to any of these people on the phone, but they are not the most intelligent people that I have ever spoke to. And that's saying something, because I don't hold myself to, a professor level of education. Now, you would think that if this was still such a serious threat, that they wouldn't want people going to work if they were exposed to coronavirus, or if they thought they might have coronavirus, or if they had to be around somebody who tested positive for coronavirus, they would want them back in the workforce to infect everyone else. And that's clearly not the case. I could probably write on a Post-it note that I have a negative test result from COVID and go into work tomorrow. Now, would that be the right thing to do? I don't believe it's not. And as much as I think that this is being used more for an abuse of power than it is to actually keep the American people safe, I will try to follow the guidelines. However, when you start affecting my children's financial stability, that's where I start losing some of my patience. And they should expect me to have about, 3 minutes of phone call time before I just go ape shit on them. Just because I know I've played this game, okay? We've all played this game. It's been 2 years. The jig is up. We're done playing your bullshit. And more disheartening at that, there are still people on social media, you have the people that are like, oh, you remember my body, my choice, comparing abortions to mask. The people that, on both sides, conservative and the liberals, the pro-lifers and the pro-choice, if you are using this as a comparison, you're ignorant. Abortion and wearing a mask are not even on the same planet. You are talking about ending something with a human heartbeat compared to a cloth piece of paper that says on the packaging, it does not stop viruses. Okay? So stop trying to use your liberal fucking arguments to make conservative points look bad. Furthermore, I seen a shirt today on the internet that said, if you don't need a mask because of God, then why do you need a gun? And this one is a little bit more complex, because I do know there are Christians out there that believe they don't need to carry a gun. And if it's their time to go, it's their time to go. And I do believe that to a certain extent, right? God has a path for you, and you're going to take that path whether you want to or not. However, the comparison is not the same. If I am not wearing a mask because I feel like if God wants me to die from coronavirus, then I'm going to die, that doesn't affect anybody else. And before you go, well, you can get other people sick if you go into the grocery store without a mask, so it does affect other people. Well, if you're staying 6 feet away from me and washing your hands and you're wearing your mask, then what's the problem? If masks work so well, why are you afraid of me not wearing a mask? Now, the reason we carry guns are, like I said, not even a good comparison. Because there are evil people, and there are people that are influenced by Satan, if you will, that are going to do evil things. And we all know bad things happen to good people. Now, I don't think a Disney printed cloth mask is going to save a life. However, there is more data than you will ever need to prove that carrying a firearm can save your life against someone who is trying to commit evil against you or your loved ones. So I need you guys that are using that argument, I need you to order one of those shirts, okay? And when you get it in the mail, it's going to be slightly folded up and probably in a bag. Take it out of the bag, fold it up a little bit more, and then shove it up your ass. You're using ignorant arguments that are on opposite sides of the thought process and your theories. Now, with that out of the way, whether these places want to take away the benefits that help the middle class and the small man that is being kept from working, which is crazy to me as it is. Nobody can get people to work. People are being paid more to stay at home. And then you have people like me and others that want to go to work. They get frustrated when you tell us we can't go to work. I have 15, 20 hours of overtime this week. And guess what? It's a wash. Because I can't go to work. Because there's a bunch of fucking pussies that say, oh my God, somebody in your house has coronavirus and you could fucking kill us all. Save it for somebody who gives a fuck. I'm more concerned with the fact that overtime that I work so my kids can have nicer things when they go back to school in person, hopefully without a mask, so they can learn how to fucking be a human again. They can have some of the nicer things and maybe forget about this last year and a half that they were brainwashed. I go to the store to get my wife some medicine, and I come home and my youngest is wearing a mask because she is that scared that her mother is going to infect her, that she's in the same house wearing a mask. Well, we know that kids aren't as vulnerable to the coronavirus as is. This is just the media. This is just the little fucking, I don't even know, can I say, I'm trying to think of the most degrading fucking thing I can call these people on TikTok and YouTube that are scaring these children and not, they're not following the science. When you pick certain things out of facts and then distort them to only make sense on what you want to believe, that is not following the science. The CDC, for the most part, has not followed the science, and if it has, it picks and chooses when it does so, when it is convenient for them, and quite frankly, I'm fucking over it. It is now affecting the mental well-being of my children. It is affecting my financial stability for my children. and the fact that it was already infringing on our rights should have been enough, honestly. And if anything, I'm ashamed of myself that I haven't been more outspoken about this before this. And I think we all should be ashamed. I know there are a lot of good educated people and doctors that have spoke out. And there are a lot of good people that are a lot smarter than me, with a lot vaster of audience, that they get frustrated and they go on these, YouTube videos and podcasts, and they talk about it, and they're fed up, and you can hear it in their voice, and I'm sure you can hear it in my voice. And even the far ones, the ones that might take it a little bit too far, like Nick Fuentes and some of his more anti-Semite theories or whatever, even he will follow it up with, I disavow violence. We need to do this peacefully. Well, we have been. There have been gyms in New York that have racked up $1 million lawsuit bills trying to fight this. We have fought governors in these communist states like California and New York, and we're not really getting anywhere. And I hate to break it to all the conservatives and Republicans and people that think they're trying to hold on to the last bit of rope that Trump still really is the president. We have to have a tough conversation right now. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't. You've heard the evidence, and in most states, some of the evidence is overwhelming. The Supreme Court is unwilling to hear this, and I will tell you why. It has nothing to do with the amount of time that has passed, or what has been done, or that the power has been handed over. They know that if they undo that process, there will be so much chaos and violence that it's not worth it. See, when it comes to whether or not we should look into the evidence for voter fraud and maybe bring president back into the White House, they're weighing out pros versus cons. And they know even if the right thing to do was to bring President Trump back in office, the pros versus cons aren't evenly matched. There would be too many people, too upset, and even the people that would be happy about it would celebrate to the point where it would cause conflict. So it will never happen. What is what it will be for the next 3 years. And the only hope we have of curving some of this Democrat power and getting some of our freedoms back before 2024 is the 2022 primaries. So we have to stop wasting our time and energy on if the election was fair or stolen, because it doesn't matter at this point. You could have all the evidence in the world. Nobody in the deep state, nor that holds the power now, wants to hear it. And they're not going to do anything about it. So stop wasting your time. We've lost that battle. Let's continue to fight the war. Now back to the people that are fed up and don't know what to do, and then follow it up with, I disavow violence. We have to do this peacefully. That is not working either. I do think maybe we should do everything we can political and as activists to try to take some of the power back from 2022 or in 2022. But there is going to come a time where we are going to have to move beyond the disavowing violence and move beyond, let's do this, protest peacefully. We have seen from the other side, they have never protested peacefully. And even if it starts out that way, it usually drastically increases until somebody, is building is at least burned down, if not deaths. We know the media don't give a shit about how many dollars worth of damage or how many felonies were committed when it comes to the BLM riots. We barely heard anything about BLM setting church fires when they were trying to storm Washington, D.C., or not Washington, D.C., but the White House. You have 300 people going to the Capitol. The only people that were hurt, other than a bunch of fucking cuck pussy politicians, was one female patriot that was shot by an FBI agent who they are hiding and protecting. And I tell you why they're hiding and protecting him is because he is a black FBI officer. And they have done this with mass shooters. So I don't know why we would think it would be any different when it comes to an FBI agent killing a white veteran mother that was just there to protest free and fair elections. I don't know his name just yet, but I have seen pictures of the gentleman, and it doesn't fit their narrative. Now, if the tables would have turned, and BLM would have breached the White House, and a white FBI officer would have shot a black veteran mother, you would still hear this every day in the news. In fact, the Cleveland Indians probably would have changed their name to the BLM protesters' face on the front of their hat. And this is just ridiculous. And this is another problem that we are facing. I hate to break it to you, but it is in human nature to be evil. It is in human nature to be tribalistic. This has been and will always be. Every time there is some type of tragedy, we never look for answers for that tragedy first. We always look for the person to blame, and once we find that person, we blame their culture, we blame their religion, and we blame their race. And then they want to say that the Christian white males are the biggest threat to the United States. We have been fighting over religion since the beginning of time. The Germans used their hatred towards the Jews to spool up a very powerful movement. And they've done a lot of the things in that movement that they are doing now for COVID. And no, they aren't going after the Jews. But let's keep going down the list. So we have, the religion wars since the beginning of times. Then you had the Germans and Nazis going after Jewish people. And then, of course, we had some early American settlers go after black people, and that lasted for quite a bit of time. And all of it is unfortunate. And then even after 9/11, where we all came together as a country, we still had people who, instead of looked for ways to unite each other, we attacked Muslims and we attacked Middle Easterns that had nothing to do with 9/11. What do you think they are doing to white conservatives right now? We have a pandemic that is never ending, and people want answers, and it is a tragedy. And so what are we doing? We are looking for people to blame. And the media and the government has chosen those people. Now, they're saying Nazis and white supremacists to make them look like the good guys, but who they are talking about are just normal, white, middle class, some Christian, some not Christian, conservative people. And they are being silenced, they are being attacked, and they are being villainized. So the next step in the process will be to humiliate us, which is already happening, until you have nothing left. So unfortunately, you can still say we're the majority in the United States. Well, it doesn't matter if we're the majority of the United States if we are the enemy. It's not like we can fight back, right? We're supposed to do this peacefully, while BLM attacks us violently. So at what point do we pick up our swords and fight back? That is the question we need to be asking ourselves, is not what should we do peacefully, but when is it time to no longer be peaceful? Now, this might seem like it is a very extremist point of view, but it is just the reality. It isn't getting better, and I don't believe it will get better. And you see with these mask mandates and these vaccine mandates, especially in the military, there are people that are leaving first responders en masses. You have nurses quitting now from the mask and vaccine mandates. Please believe that it is happening in our military too. And now there are a lot of conspiracies that talk about the UN coming on American soil and disarming the American people. Well, it's not all conspiracy. There are at least 17 different branches they are trying to instill the UN forces in America, and they are just getting them ready and spooling them up. And I do believe it was something like by 2030, they would have enough UN forces to where they could fight off a good portion of a population of a state just with UN troops, so that if they did not have backing from the U.S. military, because they are losing that fight. I fully support our military, and I fully support our police officers, but understand, the ones that would come and disarm law-abiding citizens, I do not support that. The ones that will enforce mask mandates and vaccine passports, I do not support that. They are just as evil and tyrannical as their fucking puppet masters. And so you will see a divide amongst military. And without that unity in the military and in law enforcement, the government will need something else, and they are working on that. They have stuff in play right now. It is out there, and you can find this in government documents. If you guys want me to go a little bit further into some of that and some of the 17 categories that they are looking to expand in across the United States for the UN troops to come over here and just be set and ready until, like I said, I believe it's 2030, where they would like to be able to deploy if necessary. Now, if the government didn't think they were going to do something drastic enough for their own military not to help them, or that they would have enough of the U.S. population fight against them, that they would need help from the UN, why would they be doing this? And this, it is in the Great Reset portfolio. It's in the game plan. It has always been part of the globalist agenda. And the sad thing is I'm not a conspiracy theory. I am just a constitutionalist that believes we should all have our own freedoms and no one should be allowed to infringe upon them if I am not hurting anyone else. And I don't buy this. If I don't get vaccinated and I don't wear a mask, that's infringing on somebody else's rights. If you're that scared, you stay home. I'm going to go out and enjoy my freedoms. I don't do this safety over freedom bullshit. That is not what the American dream is about. That is not what the Constitution was written for. And the more we allow that to happen, the quicker we will fall. There has never been a nation that has made it past 250 years. So you have two different kind of people in the elite. You have the ones that are trying to accelerate the demise so they can rebuild in their socialist, globalist view. And then you have the ones that are holding on, hoping that we can make it through all of this bullshit to rebuild and keep some of the founding principles of America alive. The mainstream media needs to stop talking about equality. They are not for equality. And I believe in any other, if we didn't have social media, you would see a lot more of this anti-white movement being spread faster than it already is. And one of the hardest things is that, we have peers that we work with, some are boss, maybe, and when you get to work and they say, hey, you have to wear a mask, it's not me, please don't get mad at me, it's coming from above me. Some of these people have to realize that it can come from above them. But the people above them are not in the building. They don't know what's going on. That doesn't mean that you have to enforce it. Fine. If you want to tell me that from the top tier down, they want us to wear masks because they want to help the globalists push their agenda because we know it doesn't match the science, then say that. But you don't have to enforce it. Just like when they say that we need to tell on our neighbors for having these large parties with unvaccinated people and non-sophisticated people, that they should snitch on their neighbors. If it gets any worse and it comes to that time where neighbors fight against neighbors, I promise you, you do not want to be that neighbor that snitched on the neighbor that had a small gathering for their child's birthday party. Now, on that topic, I told you that Obama was going to have his large birthday party and there weren't going to be masks and the media wasn't going to be allowed to come in to take pictures, and that's what happened. They didn't take pictures, but pictures were leaked and there were no masks were worn. There were no vaccine passport requirements to be shown at the door. In fact, there was up to 60 people that after that party caught COVID. But when Circleback Psaki was asked about it, she said, don't worry, they are following all the CDC guidelines and it will be outdoors and it is a vaccinated and sophisticated crowd. And what she meant by that is, you are poor and you are stupid, mind your business. We will do whatever we want to do. And then we will tell you what you are allowed to do. This time has to come to an end. Everyone must speak up, even if it's a little bit uncomfortable. And if you are one of these people that are unfortunate to have to pass this tyrannical information along at your workplace, just realize when people like me and the patriots that believe in freedom over safety say something and make things a little bit more uncomfortable for you, we're not attacking you. We're just letting you know that we're getting fed up, and there will come a point where people will have to pay for the damage that they have done to America. And I don't know when that time will be, but this I disavow shit's gotta stop. At some point, we have to say, yes, we will hold peaceful protest. But when we hold the peaceful protest, if we are targeted, if we are tracked, if we are arrested, if violence is forced upon us, if Antifa shows up and slashes our tires and attacks the churches that comes to support us, like we seen in Portland, then if you are truly told to stand back as police officers and governors, then stand the fuck back and let the American people sort it out ourselves. Because the politicians are doing a terrible fucking job. And that's from the Republicans and the Democrats. You are doing a terrible fucking job. It is time that we should hold elections not by 2 years or 4 years, but by when you step up on that podium and you say something tyrannical that is against the Constitution. There should be no vote to see if we need to impeach. We should just impeach right there. It is time for mass disobedience. It is time to drag politicians out of their comfortable homes. The ones who want to push this gun control on us, it is time that we disarm them. Every time they throw a birthday party, Obama or not, Obama is not a god. Obama was not even a good fucking president. Stop worshiping Obama's skin color. He was a horrible human being. He did a lot of fucked up things for this country. And if you think he was a good president, you're a fucking retard. Trump did not go against the Constitution, and somehow yet we had the best economy we ever had. Obama did go against the Constitution, and it was some of the worst time we've seen in the last 20 years of the United States. Joe Biden has gone against the Constitution not once but twice now, and here we are, high gas prices, which he is blaming everybody but himself. Somehow, the petroleum companies are supposed to pump out more gas than ever, so there isn't a gas shortage, but he closed down pipelines, he put sanctions on fracking, but then yet gave the golden key to the gates of natural gas in Europe to Russia. Joe Biden is a great president. He is a great president for China. He is a great president for Russia. And if the Taliban was to ever elect a president, they should elect Joe Biden. Even the White House experts themselves said by the anniversary of 9/11 this year, the Taliban will have taken over Kabul and have pretty much reigns over Afghanistan. The Taliban has since banned the vaccine from Afghanistan. I want to take it back a couple of weeks when Biden said that the American people could do nothing with their AR-15s. Well, The Taliban fought off the U.S. government for 20 years. They have now taken back control over their country, and they told you to take your vaccine and shove it up your ass. Now Biden has since said that he is going to send 3,000 more troops, which, God, please protect those troops, because the Taliban has been going around Afghanistan and letting everyone out of the prisons. Who do you think those people in those prisons are going to be loyal to? The Taliban has probably increased their ranks tenfold. And just like the people crossing the border and being released into our population, who do you think they'll be loyal to? Joe Biden. And Circle Back Saki says, well, the Taliban is just going to have to try to figure out their place in society. The only place in this society of today is their heads in a fucking bag. And maybe, if they would have let some of the troops over there deal with that the way they wanted to, the Taliban still wouldn't be a fucking issue. But instead, they had to fight them with their hands tied behind their back. And what you inevitably have is pretty much when Obama yanked all the troops and then ISIS accelerated. Now that the Taliban has complete control of Afghanistan, do you think they're going to forgive and forget? Biden is begging them to leave the U.S. consulate alone. How fucking pathetic is that? That's who you voted for, you Democrat piece of shit. You voted for a fucking coward that is begging the people who crashed planes into the fucking Twin Towers not to burn down the U.S. consulate. But I mean, what do you expect? Cowards vote for cowards. And I wish it didn't have to be this way. I wish that politics weren't a big deal in everyday life. But we weren't the ones making it like that. We are the ones being outcasted because we want more data. Because we have chosen the best for what our family is instead of what the government wants to mandate us to do. If you think socialism is a good thing, you clearly do not know world economics, and you clearly have not read a lot of history books. So I don't care where you went to college to, you are an ignorant fuck. And then the more you push and the more you vote for these stupid assholes, there's going to come a day where you're going to have to deal with all the fucking stupid rednecks like me. Because we're not just going to line up for the trolley cars. So what's it going to be? When are we going to say enough is enough? When are you going to walk in the doors of your work knowing that you are supposed to be a leader and say, well, this corporation says that we need to continue wearing masks, but that's totally bullshit because that does not follow the science at all. So if you don't wear a mask, I'm not going to enforce it. But if you get wrote up at some point because someone higher up is a cuck to the government, then so be it. But if you choose not to wear a mask and you choose to stand up for your rights, I'm proud of you. That's the kind of fucking leaders we need in corporations. Hell, those are the kind of leaders we need being managers at McDonald's. Because those are the ones that are telling our youth how to work and where they're getting their work ethic from. And because they're not getting that and they're just doing what the government says, They're going to grow up thinking that's okay. And where they get their entertainment from is going to be TikTok and YouTube. And instead of trading Pokemon cards at recess, they are going to be trading whether they're asexual or bisexual. Now, I'm not against whether or not you want to stick a fucking orange in a goddamn rock or whatever your bag is, but don't push that shit on our kids. You leave that up to the parents whether or not we want them to think that's okay. It is our job to teach them how to think. It is not your job how to teach them what to think. Stop promoting these movies that preach some of this blasphemy to our children. Corporations, stop putting rainbow flags everywhere because you think it appeases your employees. That is not helping. Recognize them as people, not their sexual preference, not their fucking race. Do not celebrate Black History Month. Celebrate them as a human. Celebrate them as a good worker. And when you go to vote, vote on policies. Jesus Christ. There's more people. There's more people, not just me, that feel this way. In fact, we are the majority. It might not always be like that, and you should keep that in mind. There is a great quote that said they came for the socialist, and I wasn't socialist, so I did nothing. Then they came for the workers' union, and I wasn't in the workers' union, so I did nothing. And then they came for me, and there was nobody left to stop them. Sorry, I think care flight's going up ahead. That's where we're at. There's fewer people that are getting burnt out from the fight. There are more people that are scared to speak up. And it's getting smaller and smaller. And the peaceful shit ain't cutting it. So we need leaders to stand up and tell us what to do. And I guess, mass disobedience is the next step in the process. And hopefully that will go a lot better than the peaceful bullshit, because that's not doing a whole lot of nothing. We already knew from the beginning of all this they were trying to push some kind of civil conflict between the people. Well, now we're starting to see that it's not the American people versus the American people. It is the Democrats and the left and the elite versus just the normal Americans that want to survive. But they have already taken control over our education system. They have already taken over government. They're taking over our medical institutes. They have taken over media. And at that point, there really isn't a whole lot of peaceful options to start taking back some of that power. Man. And just so you know, this whole Cuomo stuff and the elite and what they think and how they push their propaganda, Cuomo staff has come out and said the reason that they did not use the real statistics for the death in the nursing homes is because it would have helped Trump in the election. It was okay for them to lie about manslaughter for political gain. Think about that. Murder, fear tactics for political gain. That is the definition of terrorism. And of course, he stepped down because of sexual assault allegations. Do you know why? Because they don't want to get into the death in the nursing homes. Because then it wouldn't just be Cuomo. It would be Newsom. It would be Whitmer. They're not doing us a favor. Cuomo's not doing us a favor for stepping down. That is a distraction. Because they killed people for political gain, and they're going to get away with it. Do you know why they're going to get away with it? Because you let them get away with it. Now, I got my own shit going on, right? And I'm trying to help you guys out and point you in the right directions. I'm telling you, this UN shit's something to look into. The lockdowns are coming. And anytime you personally have a situation that is bringing hardships upon your family that have anything to do with COVID or the restrictions, you fight it. You fight your fucking ass off. Because every battle will add up. And right now, that's all we can do. That's all for tonight, y'all. You have a good one. Peace, y'all.